to all! Today's office is Rosh Hashanah Daf Gimel. We are starting 13 lines from the top, the first word on the line. And today's office sponsored Leilu Nishmas, Mars Miriam Sarah Basar Yaakov Maisha, her Neshama should have an Aliyah, and Leilu Nishmas, Rabbi Yachmiel Mordechai ben Reb Chaim, his Neshama should have an Aliyah. Now the Gemara stated that Nisan is the new year of kings and not a different month because it's compared to how we count the years after Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is also from Nisan. The Gemara then asked perhaps the count of Yetzias Mitzrayim is from Tishrei, and this was disproven by a series of psukim. But the Gemara continues asking the Ve'em Rosh Hashanah Iyar, perhaps Rosh Hashanah, meaning the new count of years after Yetzias Mitzrayim starts from Iyar. So the Gemara says, don't think that. The pasuk says, it was in the first month, B'shana Hashenis, in the second year, on the first of the month, Hukam Mishkan, the Mishkan was established. Uksiv in the pasuk says, B'shana Hashenis, it was in the second year, B'chodesh Hasheni, on the second month, Nal Ha'anan Mal Mishkan Eidos, the cloud was lifted from on top of the Mishkan Eidos. Now, by the Kavod Nisan, from the fact that the first pasuk was talking about something that happened in Nisan, which is Hakamas HaMishkan, V'kar Lashana Hashenis, and it calls it the second year after leaving Mitzrayim, V'kai Be'iyar, and the next pasuk was talking about something that happened in Iyar, V'kar Lashana Hashenis, and it also calls it the second year, and must be that the Rosh Hashanah of counting after Yetzias Mitzrayim is not Iyar. The Gemara asks, Rosh Hashanah Sivan. Perhaps the Rosh Hashanah, the new year of counting after Yetzias Mitzrayim, is Sivan. We say, don't think that either. The pasuk says, B'chodesh Hashlishi, let's say it's Bnei Yisrael Meretz Mitzrayim. It was the third month after the Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim. And if you're going to say that we start to count a new year after Yetzias Mitzrayim from Sivan, so B'chodesh Hashlishi, B'shana Hashenis, let's say Smi Ba'yalei. The pasuk should have said it was the third month in the second year, because even though it was 3 months after Yetzias Mitzrayim, if we're going to start counting a new year from then, it should have said it's the second year and not the first year. So it must be that we don't count from Sivan either. The Gemara continues, Ve'ema Tammuz, Ve'ema Av, Ve'ema Adar. Perhaps we start counting Yetzias Mitzrayim from these months and not from Nisan. The Gemara says, you're right, El Amar Rabbi Elazar Mehacha. Rabbi Elazar has a different source of how we know a king's reign starts from Nisan. It says in the pasuk, Vayachal livneis b'chodesh Hasheni, and he, talking about Shlomo HaMelech, started building the Beis HaMikdash in the second month, that's Iyar, Basheni, in the second, B'shnas Arbol Malchusai, in the fourth year of his reign. Now, my Sheni, why do we have the second word Sheni in the pasuk? What's that referring to? Lav Sheni Liyarach Shemoyim B'Olam Malchusai doesn't mean the second month of when they start counting his reign. Meaning he started building the Beis HaMikdash in the second month, which is Iyar, which is the second month from when we start counting his reign, which is from Nisan. But now Maskal Ravina, he asked the following question, Ve'ema Sheni B'chodesh. Maybe it means he started building the Beis HaMikdash on the second day of the month. Answers the Gemara, Im Kain, if so, Sheni B'chodesh B'hed Yahavik Siv Bey. The pasuk would have written that explicitly. We know that there's many psukim that tell us the specific day of the month. The Gemara continues asking, Ve'em B'sheni B'Shabbos. Maybe it means he started building the Beis HaMikdash on the second day of the week, on Monday. So we answer Chada, first of all, we don't find any psukim that ever tell us what day of the week something happened on. Furthermore, we compare the second Sheni in this pasuk to the first Sheni in the pasuk. Ma Sheni Kama Chaydesh, just like the first Sheni in the pasuk is referring to the month, Iyar, Af Sheni Basra Chaydesh, so too the second Sheni in the pasuk is talking about a month, meaning the second month from a king's new year. And now Tani Kabas Rabbi Yechon, we have a brass like Rabbi Yechon who had said that we start counting a king's month from Nisan, Minayin She'in Man Lahem L'Malachim Elam Nisan. How do we know that we only start counting a king's year from Nisan? And now we're just going to have a quick run through of all the psukim that we had yesterday and today. Shneimar says in the pasuk, Vahi B'Shmanim Shan Rabbi Hashanah L'Tzeis B'nei Yisrael Meretz Mitzrayim. Uksiv in another pasuk had said, Vayal Arna Kain Al Har Har Al Pi Hashem. And Uksiv Vahi Barbaim Shan B'Shtei Asar Chaydesh. Uksiv another pasuk said, Achrei HaKoyser Esichain, and Va'omer Vayishma Knani, Va'omer Vayiru Kol Eda Kigava Aaron. And all those were the psukim of yesterday. And now the psukim of today, Va'omer Vahi B'Chodesh Harishan M'Shan Hashenis, and Va'omer Vahi B'Shan Hashenis B'Chodesh Hasheni, and Va'omer B'Chodesh Hashlishi L'Tzeis B'nei Yisrael, Va'omer Vayachal Livnais. So here we have it from a combination of all these psukim. We know that a Jewish king's year is counted from Nisan and not from any other month. And now Amar Chizda, he tells us, Lo Shanu El Malchei Yisrael, this was only taught for a Jewish king. A Jewish king's year is counted from Nisan. Aval Malchei Umas Ha'olam, however, for a non-Jewish king, Mitishrei Mininan, we count it from Tishrei. Now, the following Gemara needs a bit of a history lesson taking place somewhat before Purim, extending to somewhat after Purim, and hopefully it's going to be more interesting than your history teacher. If not, at least it's going to be quicker. So Daryavesh, who was a Median, conquered Bavel, ending the rule of the Babylonian Empire, beginning the rise of the Persian Empire. He's followed by Koresh. Koresh allowed the Yidden to return to Eretz Yisrael and begin rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash. A small group went up, led by Zerubbabel. Now, enemies of the Yidden defamed them to the king, so King Artaxerxes stopped the work on the Beis HaMikdash. Machlok is who this king is. Achashverosh then became king, and we all know what happened during that time. Now, Daryavesh, this one a Persian, remember the last one was a Median, he becomes king after Achashverosh. Now, the Ravim, Chagai, and Zecharia urge everyone to continue rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash even without official permission, but Daryavesh eventually agrees. The Beis HaMikdash was completed in the 6th year of Daryavesh's reign. After this, Ezra Sefer arose in Yerushalayim in the 7th year of King Artaxerxes' reign. Nehemiah, who was the king Sar HaMashkim and had remained in Bavel, heard from Hanani that the condition of the Yidden and of Yerushalayim is pretty dire, so he was granted permission by the king to go up and help rebuild the walls of Yerushalayim. So now that we have this brief history recap, let's see how the Gemara proves that the new year of a non-Jewish king is not from Nisan, rather from Tishrei. Shneimar says in the pasuk, the words of Nechemiah ben Chechaliah, it was in the month of Kislev, Shnas Esrim, the 20th year of Artaxerxes' reign, And this is talking about when he heard the news of the sorry state of the people of Yerushalayim and the walls of the city. Uksiv, and another pasuk says, "Vahi b'chodesh Nisan." It was in the month of Nisan, Shnas Esrim Tachshasta, in the 20th year of Tachshasta. That's when Nehemiah went to the king to ask if he could go up to Yerushalayim. Now, when the Kai Kislev, from the fact that the first pasuk is talking about Kislev, the Karli Shnas Esrim, and it calls it the 20th year. The Kai ben Nisan, and the second pasuk is talking about Nisan, the Karli Shnas Esrim, and it also calls it the 20th year. Mechad Rosh Hashanah lav Nisan hu. We see that the Rosh Hashanah of a secular king is not Nisan. The Gemara asks, Bishlei Mahech. We understand the second pasuk of Mefar Shalar Tachshasta. It's very clear. It's talking about the 20th year of Artachshasta's reign because it says his name. Elohaimi Maidal Artachshasta. The first pasuk, who says we're talking about the 20th year of Artachshasta's reign? Dilma Gimel Amad Bezat Tablim and Yanachrinahu. Perhaps we're talking about 20 years of a different count. Rav Papa, he answers. We actually had this answer yesterday. Shnas Esrim Gzer Shava. We have Gzer Shava, 20th year. Mahasam Artachshasta. Just like in the second pasuk, it's very clear we're talking about the 20th year of Artachshasta's reign. Avhachal Artachshasta. So too in the first pasuk, we're talking about the 20th year of Artachshasta's reign. Ask the Gemara, who says the story of Kislev happened first? Perhaps the story of Nisan happened first. The Gemara says, don't say that. The time you have a brayso that says very clearly, that which Hanani had told Nehemiah in Kislev, Nehemiah had told those words over to the king in Nisan. How do we know this? The pasuk says, Nehemiah says over, Kislev was in the month of Kislev, Shnas Esrim in the 20th year, and that's the only part of the pasuk we had previously, and now we're going to continue. What did Nehemiah say? I was in Shushan Abira, Hanani, and Hanani came, is one of my brothers, Yehuda, him and men from Yehuda, and I asked them about the Jews who were the survivors, they were remaining from captivity, meaning they were not captured and brought to Bavli, they stayed in Yerushalayim, and I also asked about Yerushalayim, and they told me, those that remained from the captivity, Sham Medina, over there, meaning in Eretz Yisrael, they're in a terrible state and humiliation from all the idol worshippers there, and the wall of Yerushalayim has been breached, and its gates burned in fire, still remaining from the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. So everything that Nehemiah heard then, Nehemiah told him to the king in Nisan. The pasuk says, Nisan, it was in the month of Nisan, Shnas Esrim Tachshasta Melech, the 20th year of Tachshasta Melech. Yain Lefanav, the wine was in front of him. Remember, we said Nehemiah was a Sar Mashkim. And I lifted up the wine and I gave it to the king. And usually I was not downcast or despondent in front of him. However, today I was downcast. And the king said to me, why is your face downcast today? Why are you downtrodden? You're not sick. This is only a bad heart. And I was very afraid, said Nehemiah. And I said to the king, the king should live forever. But why should my face not be downtrodden? Because the city which is the burial place of my fathers, it's destroyed, and its gates have been consumed by fire. So the king said to me, so what are you asking about? Meaning, what do you want? So I davened to Hashem, I said a tefillah in my heart, and I said to the king, if it's good to the king, and if your servant finds favor in your eyes, that you should send me to Yehuda, to the city which is the burial place of my fathers, and I will help them rebuild it. And the king said to me, and the Shegal was sitting by him, and we're going to discuss tomorrow what that's referring to. When are you leaving and when are you coming back? And it was pleasing to the king, and he sent me, and I gave him a time that I was going to come back, and therefore he let me go. So here we see that which was told to Nehemiah in Kislev was told over to the king in Nisan. But now Master Rav Yosef, he asks, who says that we count from Tishrei? It says in the pasuk, it was the 24th day of the month, Bashishi, on the 6th month, talking about Elul, B'shnas Shtaimu Daryavesh, in the 2nd year of Daryavesh, they continue building Beis HaMikdash. Uksiv, it says in the pasuk, B'shvi, in the 7th month, this is referring to Tishrei, and we're still talking about the 2nd year, Be'esrim Echel Chodesh, on the 21st of the month. And here's the question, V'im Isa, if you want to say that Tishrei is the month that we start counting a secular king's year from, so B'shvi, B'shnas Gimel B'ayalei, the pasuk should have said that it was the Shvi, it was the 7th month, which is Tishrei, in the 3rd year, because that would start a new year. So Amar Bavo, he answers, Kairash Melech Chasher Haya, Kairash, he was a good king, therefore we count for him like we count for Jewish kings, which is from Nisan and not from Tishrei. Now Masav Rav Yosef, he asked two questions. Chada, first of all, the Imkain, if that's so, Kashu Krayadadi, we have a Stirim Psukim. The Chsiv, one pasuk says, V'shetzi Ba'aseh Dina, and this house was completed, referring to the Beis HaMikdash, Ad Yom Tlasa Lirach Adar, on the 3rd day of the month of Adar, Dihi Shnas Sheis L'Malchus Daryavesh Malka, this is the 6th year of Daryavesh's reign, V'tanyin, we have a Brayso, Ba'isai at that time, Lashana Haba, the next year, Allah Ezra Bavel, Ugalusa Imai, Ezra went up from Bavel and all the exiles with him. Uksiv, and the pasuk says about that, Vayav Yerushalayim b'chodesh hachamishi, and he came to Yerushalayim in the 5th month. He shnas hashvius lamelech. It was the 7th year to the king's reign. And v'im Isa, if you're going to say that he's a kosher king, and we're going to start counting from Nisan and not from